allure of the America's Cup has impassioned sailors to protect it and chase it for 150 years. Champions of industry and sport have tried to free the English silverware, so long entombed at the New York Yacht Club. Few succeeded. When the yacht America won a race around the Isle of Wight in 1851, a new chapter in sporting history opened. The America's Cup was to be a friendly competition, open to all nations. After a 19-year hiatus, English aristocrat James Ashbury and the Irish Earl of Dunraven first felt the stings of defeat, crying foul play, and sent home empty-handed. Disgraced and expelled from the New York Yacht Club, Dunraven would never return. By 2003, the world had learned well from the innovative New Zealanders. Their team approach to design and sailing was by now a valuable national asset, in danger of being lost to richer challengers with huge financial offerings. Not such a far cry from syndicate tactics employed as far back as 1851. The first of the great designers was the Wizard of Bristol, Captain Nat Herreshoff, who, with his 7 successful Cup defenders from 1893 to 1920, enticed the mighty and their fortunes. New York financier J. Pierpont Morgan owned his greatest yacht, the 1903 Defender Reliance, helmed by the incomparable Charlie Barr. A man revered for his sporting attitude was tea magnate Sir Thomas Lipton.
I've made several efforts to get that blooming old mug.
He was a much-loved and respected competitor and friend of fellow sailor King Edward VII. But for all his resources, he remained unsuccessful 5 times.
Morning, Suffolk. Morning, Vanderbilt.
These 2 men in the 30s owned and sailed their huge J-class yachts. Harold Vanderbilt, inventor, yachtsman, perfectionist. His great rival and British equivalent, aviation innovator Sir Thomas Sopwith, beaten in 2 challenges in 1934 and 37. The Vanderbilt family fortunes were lavishly cast in their monumental homes on the shores of Newport, Rhode Island. Starling Burgess continued the dominance of American design, and when paired with the young Olin Stevens, created Vanderbilt's best J-boat, Ranger. Following the Second World War, Stevens was set to dominate America's Cup yacht design for the next 3 decades. His 12 meters proved invincible, his study of shape and speed revolutionary. Bas Mosbacher, watched here by President and Jackie Kennedy, was one of many famous skippers who drove the Stevens thoroughbreds to fame and glory. The vociferous media mogul Ted Turner tried in 1974 and then won in 1977 the right to defend the Cup aboard Courageous, one of the Cup's most flamboyant winners. In the 60s, millionaire Frank Packer takes up Australia's challenge. With designer Alan Payne and talented sailors from Down Under, they started Australia's 21-year road to success. Inventor of the ballpoint pen, Baron Bic entered France into the now multi-challenge lineup in the 70s. Baron Bic's global marketing of the Bic pen was more successful than his challenges.
Bic's 3rd campaign without a single race victory.
I've had it too long, 121 years. Time it was liberated from its bondage at the New York Yacht Club.
Jim Hardy's sentiments reflected Alan Bond's long-held dream. And in 1983, Australia 2, designed by Ben Lexon and helmed by John Bertrand, finally broke the New York Yacht Club's 132-year hold on the America's Cup. The old mug was on the move. Dennis Conner, after winning in 1980, became the first American to both defend and lose the Cup on more than one occasion. Competing in America's Cup regattas since the 70s, his name is synonymous with the event. Dubbed Mr. America's Cup, Dennis Conner has sailed in more Cup matches than any other sailor in history.
I christen thee Stars and Stripes!
Among the beaten challengers of 1987 was merchant banker Michael Fay, a determined New Zealander who in 1988 surprised the world with an unorthodox challenge in a massive yacht reminiscent of the J boat class. Racing against a catamaran, he lost in the mismatch. In 1992, businessman Raul Gardini continued the Italian interest in the Cup. The campaign, launched in Venetian style, was considerably more successful than the efforts of the Aga Khan with Azura in the 80s. The Italians won the right to challenge, but Bill Koch's technological approach swept aside Gardini's Il Moro di Venezia. 1995, San Diego, California. New Zealand's fourth challenge in 8 years. With the combined brilliance of Olympian Russell Coutts and ocean racer Peter Blake, they seized the event in commanding style despite a limited budget. Under the continued leadership of the late Kiwi legend, New Zealand went on to defend the Cup in 2000 against the fashionable Italians led by Patrizio Bertelli. The Gala Jubilee at Cowes drew royalty and Cup dignitaries to celebrate 150 years of extraordinary history since the schooner America first won the trophy round the Isle of Wight in 1851. Amidst the happy throng, legendary designer Olin Stevens, whose hand drew the lines of many of the most famous Cup defenders since the 1930s. Honoured by his presence, some of the great competitors of the modern era: John Bertrand, Dennis Conner, Russell Coutts, Bill Ficker, Sir Peter Blake, James Hardy, and Bill Koch. 2002, the beginning of the end of New Zealand's 6-year reign as Cup holders. Signalling his intentions, second-time challenger, Oracle magnate and passionate sailor Larry Ellison. His transatlantic war with Alinghi in the Louis Vuitton Cup final was the highlight of the summer racing. And in the Cup match, Ernesto Bertorelli was surrounded by his awesome multinational crew. The Biotech King accomplished his dream. He is the first challenger to win the Cup at his first attempt. Mr. Bertorelli's successful approach has set new standards and a new look event for Valencia in 2007.